Hi boys and girls, happy Thursday. I thought what I would do is get on and create a quick little video to show you how we're going to start putting our book together. The last 2 weeks we've been doing some planning, and so today we're actually going to just start to create our book. Some of the things that you're going to be needing to create our book is going to be some paper. It can be plain paper or you can be using line paper. We're going to be needing some markers, some crayons, maybe if you have colored pencils, those would be great as well. We're also going to be needing those 2 pieces of paper that we did our planning on. So this would be a great time to make sure that you have these with you, because this is where we're going to be getting some of the ideas that we're going to be putting into our book. If you have a notebook or a journal, I kind of borrowed Riley's right now, this would be a great thing to use too, because it's already got all the pages in it and you don't have to create anything. But if you don't have it, I'm going to show you what you can use instead. So if you have plain white paper, like I do right here, I'm going to show you how we're going to make our book cover. You're going to take the paper and make sure that it is vertical. Remember, vertical means that it's parallel, it's equal to the floor. It's not standing vertical, which is like when we stand up. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold the ends over, and I'm going to make sure that they are equal and they meet. Do you see how they meet? And then I'm going to take the other end and I'm just going to put a nice little solid crease in there. All right, so when you're done with it, then it's going to open up like a book or a card. If you are using lined paper, you can do the same thing. You have 2 choices. You can either use your paper where it's standing vertical, or if you don't want to use it this way and you want it to go horizontal and make it like a book, you can go ahead and do the same thing. I suggest having the holes at the top, because that way you can line them up. So if I line them up, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that crease, and again, it's going to open up like a book. And there I have that. All right. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to decide to use my plain paper for my book cover. And what you can do too is I can always use my plain paper and I can put my lined paper inside if I choose to. And maybe I might want to make my book this way. You could do it that way too if you wanted to. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the plan and I'm going to look at the title of my story. And what I did was I decided to come up with the title of my story is I'm going to call it Springtime 2020. And the reason why I decided to use Springtime 2020 is because it is springtime and it is 2020. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the title of my story on my book, and I'm going to call it Springtime 2020. And then I have to make sure that I put my name on it, because I am the author of the book, just like you are the author of your book. So make sure that you write your name. And what I did right here was I put Springtime 2020. I put my name, and then I left a spot right here because perhaps I might want to draw a picture, and perhaps that might be something that you might want to do as well. So I'm going to put that to the side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead, I'm not going to use the lined paper. I decided I'm going to fold some more of these to make the pages of my story. All right, so all my stories are going to have blank pages in them, and that's okay. So I'm going to fold this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cover of my story. Remember, we just made this, and I'm going to put these pages inside here so that when I open it up, I have more pages to do my writing. Does everybody see what I just did? All right, that's what I chose to do. You can do the same thing if you decided to do your paper. You can do the same thing. Maybe you might want to put the holes on the bottom this time. I don't know. Maybe you want to put the holes, make it go this way. It's your choice. But you can also add your paper to that as well. All right, so it would end up looking like this. Or another way, I know this is going to be confusing, you can take the title of your story and you might want to just put in these line papers and put them that way so that you can write on them as well. All right, so you have a couple different options. So what I'm going to do is, even though I have my book is going to be without lines, I'm going to write on lines so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to plan. what I want to write next. And remember, boys and girls, whenever we write a story, you always have to come up with a hook. A hook is something that's going to grab someone, that's going to make someone want to read this. So as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking that since this was springtime and this all happened right before spring break, so I think what I'm going to say is on my hook to get people wanting to listen or read my story rather, is I think I'm going to say that spring break came a little bit earlier this year, because it did. It did come a little bit earlier. So I'm going to write that for my first line. That's going to be my hook, and I'm going to write spring break came a little bit earlier this year. And I'm going to put an exclamation, because remember we talked about ending marks? Ending marks are a period, a question mark, or an exclamation. An exclamation is when you can put something with feeling. So here's my first sentence to my story. This is my hook, and it says, spring break came a little bit earlier this year. And I have an exclamation because I am saying it with a little bit of feeling. Because part of me was a little excited, part of me wasn't sure what was going on. And so I just am using my exclamation mark. Now when I go back to look at my plan, I've already put my hook in. I want to start adding some of this in. Now, I don't necessarily want to maybe start with the date. Maybe I want to talk about what school I was at. So my next line could say, and I could incorporate what grade I was in. I could say this year, I am a first grader at Fremont Elementary School. Now I'm writing bigger because I want you to be able to see it. So this is what I have. So far I have spring break came a little bit earlier this year. This year I am a first grader at Fremont Elementary School. Then I can go back, and I've talked about Fremont and I added first grade. You might want to mention what your teacher's name was. You could say what your pets were. Maybe you might want to talk about something that you did at school that was your favorite thing. Those are some things that you can add. But whatever your bullet is when you're going to add that to be your next sentence. And if you look, all I'm doing is adding a sentence. Okay? So I think for right now, that's a lot to get going on. So I hope that you have your planning paper. I hope that you have some line paper, or not line paper, plain paper, line paper, maybe a journal. But what I would like to see you do is start with your cover, draw a picture if you have it, and at least get part of your writing going. So that's what you have for this week's assignment. Happy writing, boys and girls, and I can't wait to see what you've created. Bye.